Snowy Night Rescue, a true winter horror story. Have you ever felt the oppressive loneliness of a cold winter night, surrounded by the eerie silence of snow-covered desolation? I will never forget that night, a night I wish I could erase from my memory, the night I narrowly escaped death. It was mid-December, and I was driving home from the office after staying late to finish a project. The roads were buried under thick layers of snow. The cold wind howled against my windshield, and my headlights could barely penetrate the rain showers. Anxiety prickled at the back of my mind, but it wasn't until my car suddenly stalled on a deserted road that a deep, bone-chilling fear began to set in. I reached for my phone to call for help, but of course there was no signal. I sat there, trapped in the icy silence, trying to convince myself that everything would be okay. Then suddenly a shadow emerged from the woods. A man in a long coat that seemed too thin for the bitter cold approached my car. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice hoarse, his eyes piercing me through the window. Despite the panic rising in my chest, I cracked the window open and explained my situation. He smiled, but not in a comforting way. It was the kind of smile that would freeze your blood. "Get out, I'll help," he said, but before I could answer, his hand jerked the doorknob. Alarm bells went off in my head. I refused and tried to close the door, but he was so strong it was frightening. "I know a shortcut through the woods. We need to move before the storm gets worse," he insisted, his tone no longer friendly but commanding. My heart pounded as I sat frozen in fear. At that moment, a blinding flash of headlights cut through the darkness. A large truck pulled up behind me, and a tall man in a woolly hat stepped out. He held a powerful flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness as he shouted, "Back up!" The stranger in my car hesitated, muttered something, and disappeared into the darkness. The kind man ushered me into his warm truck, turned on the heater, and told me that I wasn't the first person to encounter something sinister on the stretch of road. He explained that he had spotted my dim hazard lights from a distance and sensed that something was wrong. As we drove to safety, I shivered uncontrollably, not from the cold, but from the haunting thought of what might have happened if he hadn't shown up. Even now, the memory haunts me like a nightmare. What if that man had dragged me into the woods? Would anyone have found me, or would I have become just another name in the cold winter stories people whisper around the fire on cold December nights?